Nation of Fit in 10, it is day 13. We are almost 20% into this challenge. And hopefully you're getting a better grasp of getting those numbers. Hopefully you're working towards them. Hopefully you trust your coach. Hopefully you trust the system. And it's certainly fine to question what you're doing. And in fact, I would encourage you to. But I'm also going to encourage you to follow everything that I'm telling you to do, okay? Okay, so yesterday I talked a little bit about proteins. There's just a few things I want to mention about that. I did talk about non-animal-based proteins and how they are lower in essential amino acids, and even those that contain all essential amino acids. Okay, so let me back up here a bit. There's a spectrum of amino acids, dietary amino acids. Okay, arguably between 20 and 22. Okay, there's two that I won't get into detail that could be considered dietary protein. But let's just say for argument's sake, we're talking about 20, okay? Half of those are your body cannot make, so they have to come from dietary sources, okay? So if you don't eat animal product, then you have to make sure that you get these from some other source, right? Which is why I recommend essential amino acids. You can get them from plant-based foods. The only downfall is they're going to be much lower, okay? Especially there's going to be certain essential amino acids which are very, very low. They're going to be very, very limiting in numbers, okay? But there are some examples here which I'm going to just read off. This is certainly not an exhaustive list. Mari, you probably have a better idea than I do on this, but you've got things like soy, well, basically anything that's going to be soy-based, like tofu and tempeh. You got things like quinoa and chia seed and spirulina. Spirulina is really, really good. Edamame, and there's, I'm sure, others that I'm missing here. Okay, so just be careful when you have these things because, of course, you're going to be getting other macronutrients along with it, right? So these are foods that contain all essential amino acids, but they are going to come with some fat and or carbohydrates, okay? All right, a couple things about protein too that I just want to touch upon in relation to, well, let's just talk about physiology because there's a couple things I missed here. I talked about hormones, okay, so some of the hormones in the human body, like things like insulin and glucagon and cortisol and growth hormone, these things are protein-based, so, and they're made up of certain essential amino acids as well. So you need to get these from your diet, but also neurotransmitters. Okay, these are basically chemical messengers that work in the brain and the nervous system that allow us to move and feel things and essentially live, right? So essentially allow us to be human, right, and responsive. So I just wanted to say that. Now, when it comes to protein intake and your diet and fat loss. There's one thing I want to stress here, and I think I did if I could talk, I did mention this yesterday, okay, and that is that protein has a thermic effect of about 30%. It has the highest thermic effect out of all three macronutrients. It takes about 30% of the energy in protein to digest protein. Okay, so that's one reason why you want to get it if you're trying to lose weight. It's the most metabolically costly food to eat. So as an example, let's say you eat 1,000 calories worth of whatever steak, let's just say, or chicken, and you eat 1,000 calories worth of let's say rice. Okay, so rice is basically 100% carbohydrate. And steak is pretty much 100%. Let's go with like an eye-round steak, so very, very lean steak. Now let's go with egg white. That's like the leanest protein probably I can think off the top of my head. Zero fat, zero carbs. You're going to be about 30% of those calories, so 300 calories of the egg white is going towards digesting that egg white. So you're only, technically, you're really just getting 700 calories. Whereas, let's say with the rice, for instance, you're going to be, it's somewhere in that 6 to 8% range of thermic effect. Let's be generous and say 8%. You're getting 920 calories, okay? So there's a thermogenic effect difference. Obviously, protein is, as I mentioned yesterday, it's going to help to preserve your tissues, your non-fat tissues. And this is really important because your non-fat tissues are utilizing specifically, or more specifically, your muscle mass, your organs. these things are going to utilize or are going to set your BMR, right? Or they're going to contribute highly to your BMR. So, your basal metabolic rate, the amount of energy it takes to keep the lights on, right? So we want to keep these things as high as possible because it allows us to be more energy inefficient. It allows us to burn more energy, okay? Also, protein is very, very satiating, right? It makes you feel full. It helps to reduce the production of ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, the hormone that makes us feel hungry. It helps us to downregulate that. So you're going to feel less hungry when you eat protein, which is probably one of the reasons why you feel full, okay, or more full than you did before, okay? Now, I did get a question from somebody asking me about why do we get the numbers that we get, and explain this to me. This is all very hard to do, and certainly, yeah, for sure it is, especially if you've never done anything like this before. So let's start by clarifying where your macros come from in terms of numbers. Those numbers come as a percentage from your overall calories that I assign to you per day. Your calories that I assign to you per day are based off of your lean body mass, your age, your sex, and of course your energy output. Okay, your energy output, which is more or less dictated by the program. Okay, I say more or less because obviously there's energy output that you're doing that I don't obviously know, and I can't really gauge because I don't live with you and I can't control you. Okay, so that's where the numbers come from. Okay, in terms of where they come from, your calories. Okay, so percentage-wise of your calories in the beginning, and you can see that it's changing. Maybe not every week, but most weeks. It did change last week for most of you. And this is a little bit different for some of you because some of you have been in my challenge before, so your numbers are different. So, but for most of you, you'll see 50% of your calories are coming from carbohydrates, 25% are coming from protein, and 25% are coming from fat, okay? So why those numbers? Why not just make them different? Why not just have no fat and all 75% carbs? Why not just have less protein? Well, we kind of address protein. In fact, I'd like to have protein a little bit higher, but it's very hard and it usually requires a certain amount of, people have to acclimate to that amount of protein. So I usually make it a little bit lower, and that's why it did increase the during week 2. Okay, why 50% carbohydrates? Okay, well, it seems like a lot. Seems like a lot of carbohydrates. Well, this is the easiest form of energy to get in. Okay, so you've got to get energy from somewhere. I don't suggest that you get it from protein. You could get it from fat, but also we need to consider that a lot of the foods that we eat are carbohydrate based. So again, I'm trying to make your diet as manageable as possible, and that includes giving you as much variety as possible. And with that variety, we want some nutrition, right? We want some phytonutrients, we want some fiber, we want some micronutrients, okay? A lot of that comes from carbohydrates, and of course we need the energy. That's why I'm giving you 50% carbohydrates. So why 25% fat? Why not more fat, less carbs? Okay, well, again, fat is going to be the easiest storage form of energy, okay? So I don't suggest that we go too high in fat. Also, when we dip in higher into fat, obviously that's going to reduce our carbohydrates, the easiest fuel source, and it's going to make it harder to, especially for anybody who's trying to get protein sources from non-animal, it's going to make it that much harder, okay? But also, again, we want to get those phytonutrients and fiber, and so, and we don't want to get too much fat because, again, this is going to, fat is the easiest, it's already in the form of fat, it's the easiest to be stored as fat, okay? It also has the lowest thermic effect, okay? So why not just go lower in fat, okay? So, well, we could go lower in fat, but I think you need some fat because fat, there's a certain proportion of fat that's essential to the body. We also need fat for hormone production, and we also need fat for support of things like the brain and the nervous system because these are mainly fat derived. And also every fat cell, constructed of fat, your brain, your nervous system is mainly composed of fat. But also every cell membrane is made up of a bilipid layer, a two-layered fat. Two layers of essentially fat. Okay, so it plays a structural component in the human body. Okay, so could we do like all fat, no carbs? Yeah, we could, totally. You'd survive and you'd be okay. You'd cut down, you'd have less choices of food to eat. Okay, could we go less fat? Yeah, we could go less fat. In fact, maybe we could go 20%, but I set it at 25. Okay, because there is some essential function to it. Okay, and of course I touched upon protein yesterday, and of course I'm going to recommend that I'm going to push you for a little more protein as the challenge goes on. Okay, so we have to think about, and I mean I really just summed that up really fast here. Okay, I'm trying to get it done in one video. Okay, but that's where, so whatever your calories are, which again I explained to you in the beginning of the video where your calories came from. Okay, then from there I'm assigning a certain amount of that energy to each one of those. Okay, and each one of those has a role and an importance in your diet. Okay, so I suggest that you get those. If you want to change it, okay, I'm not saying that you do, but I'm just saying if you want to change it, that's up to you. Okay, but in terms of getting as much variety in your diet and looking at the roles of each of these macronutrients, I think this is a very good place to start. Okay, now we could argue between whether it should be 23 or 25% of this and that. That's fine. We can leave that for debate. But this, to me, is a very good place to start. And history from previous challenges only serves to support that. Okay, so let's talk about the message of the day. What is my message of the day? My message of the day is this. Every meal is a short-term investment in how you feel, a mid-term investment in how you look, and a long-term investment in your freedom from disease. Let me read that again. And do not take this lightly. I'm serious. Every meal is a short-term investment in how you feel, a mid-term investment in how you look. Now, maybe not that important, but whatever. I think we all care to some degree how we look. And a long-term investment in your freedom from disease. And if you don't care how you look, kudos to you. I won't lie, I care about the way I look. But whatever. Most importantly here, a long-term investment in your freedom from disease. Okay? So think about what you're eating. Think about the sources of food and decide how important it is to you. I'm going to guess that it is pretty important to you because you're in this challenge, right? So do your best to get the numbers that I give you. There is reasoning behind all of this. There is reasoning behind all this. If anybody wants to sit down and chat about it, or even meet as a group, I am more than happy to do that, okay? Okay, one more time, message of the day. Every meal is a short-term investment in how you feel, a mid-term investment in how you look, and a long-term investment from your freedom of disease, okay? Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself for the love of God. Give some gratitude for the things that you have. There's no reason for you to feel sorry for yourself. Not that you do, but I have before, okay? But there's really no good reason for it, right? We are among some of the luckiest people on this earth. I think we're probably among the top 99% of people on this earth. So just keep that in your mind if you're ever having a bad day or whatnot, okay? Talk to you all very soon. See you guys.